Hello friends and greetings for today. Welcome back to another tutorial on ISTQB Foundation level sample paper discussions where we are talking about the tips, tricks and time management related to this particular examination. As a part of this particular tutorial, we are continuing with our next chapter of set B, that is chapter 5, and looking forward to have some of other questions typed which is from a harder side or more complicated ones to see how we can better tackle them during the examination with the right set of tips and tricks. Let's move on to the next question. The very first question for today is question number 30, and it says your team follows the process that uses the DevOps delivery pipeline. The first three steps of this process are the code development, submit code into version control system and merge it into the test branch, and 3, perform components testing for the submitted code. Which of the following is best suited to be the entry criterion for the step 2 of this pipeline? Now, very important thing to understand here that we discussed on the DevOps and we told you there are some primary activities which we do perform as a part of this pipeline. We do have build verification tests or code to be implemented first of all. Then you may have your smoke test and other things to be conducted. You have static analysis, which is a pre-check before the code basically gets executed. And then we talk about the execution of unit testing or required regression testing or integration testing, etc. So it's more of like the similar sequential process which you use in other than DevOps as well, that when a developer writes a code, the very first thing is to conduct the code review, then we go with the unit testing, then we go with the integration and many other things, right? So there's actually no change. It's just that the DevOps is doing automation of these activities. So it's not that DevOps brings anything additional, anything different than that of the generic process of working and managing the code. So that is where we want to understand what comes in between step 1 and step 2 when we see the listed 3 options. So let's look at the options here. Option A says static analysis returns no high severity warnings for the submitted code. Looks like a very decent item to be conducted between step 1 and step 2, because once after the code is implemented or developed, before it gets merged into the test branch, which is for testing, I need to conduct a round of static analysis, which is code review, will give me the confidence that the code doesn't have any anomalies before it gets into testing. However, we have 3 more options to cross-check. Option B says that system version control reports no conflict when merging code into the test branch, which is of course the job of the step 2 as per the given information, and that will happen once I merge it with the test branch, right? Then we will have the version control related issue. But the question is about what could be an entry criteria to the step 2. That means something which can be done before step 2. So B is about step 2, so it's not an entry criterion. Option C says component tests are compiled and ready to be executed. Now, component tests are compiled and ready to be conducted can be done pretty earlier as well. And if you see here, it also clearly says that when it comes to these compilation of test cases, it fits better as an entry criteria for the next one, that is performing the component test, but not for merging it to the test branch, right? So that's where it matters how exactly we correlate things to that of our understanding and the expected steps provided in the scenario here. And if I look at the option D says statement coverage is at least 80%. Now, statement coverage being 80% is again fitting as an exit criteria to the step 3, because performing component testing with something will measure what is the amount of statement coverage achieved, not before that. So D becomes more of like an exit criterion to step 3, but not something to be an entry criteria for step 2. So I think it's more of like fitting activities in the right order would give you the right answer, and that can also help you to pick up the right answer for such questions. So let's conclude this. The right answer for this particular question is A, that is static analysis returns no high severity warnings for the submitted code should be used as an entry criterion to this step 2 in this particular pipeline. And that makes it very simple and related questions of DevOps, which you can always have from this entire process. So let's move on. The next question we have is question number 31. And the question number 31 is talking about the estimations. So we have covered 4 techniques here. And one of the technique is estimation based on ratios. And that is what we are looking forward to answer. So it says you want to estimate the test effort for a new project using estimation based on ratio. Number one thing, estimation based on ratio is one of the matrix based approach and makes use of previously completed projects within the organization to take it as a ratio. Now here we also understood that you can take ratios from the project in terms of developer to testing ratio, or you can even talk about the number of hours spent in terms of the development to tester ratio. So let's look at the question ahead, and the question says you calculate the test to development effort ratio using average data for both development effort and test effort from 4 historical projects similar to the new one. The table shows this historical data here. For P1, we have 800,000 and assume the price is in dollars. So development is 800,000 and test effort is 40,000. Then same way for P2, it is 1,200,000. Then for test effort, it is 130,000. For project 3, it is 600,000, and for test effort, it is 70,000. When it comes to project 4, the development effort is 1 million, and test effort is 120,000. So you do have some number of figures which is not, having a common pattern. But if you go back to the question once again, the question tells you in the very second line that we are using average data for both development and test effort. That means we need to calculate the average of both the values. So sum of the 4 development cost divided by the 4, and then certainly the sum of these things divided by the count of that, right? That's how you calculate the average. So you will get an average. I have pretty much calculated it. The average for this would be 900,000, okay, for the development cost. Sorry, not the 900,000. The average will come to 900,000, and the testing will be 90,000. So in simple words, you are having test to development ratio as 1:10. That means where you spend 900,000 on development, then you are spending on an average 10%, which is 90,000 on the testing effort. So again, if you see there are 4 projects, then we take always average data, and that is already given to you in the question. So you don't have to worry about it. You just have to take out the average of testing cost, and you have to take out the average of development cost, and you need to just conclude that what is the ratio you're getting. And whatever ratio you got, you have to just choose that and then pick up the right answer. So to come to that second part of the question that says the estimated development effort for the new project is 800,000. What is your estimate of the test effort in this project? So I think having this calculation already being done, that we got the average of both, and we could measure the ratio that if it is development cost is 900,000 on an average and testing cost is 90,000, which is exactly 10:1 developer to test ratio. And if you say test to development ratio, this is 1:10. Okay, so 1 time the test effort, 10 times the development. So it matters how you're measuring it. Okay, if you the reason why I'm saying test to development, because the question is talking about it, not me. If you read the line number one, again, that is you calculate the test to development ratio. That is 1:10, right? So anyways, they gave you development ratio already, like the cost 800,000. So I think it makes it very simple and straightforward that it is 80,000 to be spent for the testing, right? So let's look at the options. The options we have is 40,000, 80,000, 81,250, 82,500, and you don't need me to conclude with the right answer. The right answer to this particular question is B, that is $80,000 is going to be the cost and effort cost of the effort in terms of testing for this particular new project, which is having the development effort as $800,000. Okay, so that's how simple calculations could be called from these particular technique, that is estimation, and you must be very much prepared for that, right? So let's move on to the next question. The next question we have here for you is the question number 32, and this is about the test execution schedule. And this is going to be a little tricky. Always remember that the reason is the dependencies and the priorities have to play a vital role. If you go wrong in reading the right dependency order or the priorities definition, that is where we generally can go wrong. If you read them carefully, we know what exactly we are doing, right? So let's read the question. The question number 32 says, you are testing a web application that allows users to first search for the products, then view the product details, and then add products to the shopping cart and place the order. I think that's a very generic situation and sequence of activities like search, view, add, and then place the order. You have prepared the following 7 test cases, all of which you want to execute. The test should be executed in the best order possible based on the test priority. So if you see, I've got 7 test cases here, each like in pairs, like test 1, test 2 is talking about searching for product A and B. Test 3 and 4 again is related to view, but for product A and B. And 6 and 7, 5 and 6 are talking about adding the products A and B, whereas test 7 is unique, it is to place the order. But if you further notice something here, that you have got the priority in the next column, and which clearly says the priority 1 is given to product B, okay? And how they clearly say 1 is equal to higher priority. And 2 is again given to product B, that is for view. And then if you go continue further, the 3 is given to view for product A. But if I just compare 1, 2, 3 alone, I see that 1 and 2, the highest priority is given to product B, whereas 3 is given to product A. So one thing I can conclude from here, that when I have 2 products A and B, the system or the scenario wants us to execute product B on higher priority than that of A. Okay, so it's one assumption I can really conclude from here, that product B is on higher priority than A. Okay, now let's continue reading the question first. It says you should also identify the following logical dependency between the test cases, that search functionality must be tested before view. Okay, makes sense. View functionality must be tested before add. Makes sense. And add should be tested before the order. So that's the generic sequence as well, which is logical. But if I see the priority is being given to product B, and it starts right from adding the product. So now, given that I have dependency and priority both, I can make some conclusions at this point of time. So the conclusions, what I'm trying to make here is, number 1, that B is on highest priority. That means at any cost, B should be executed first before A. And at the same time, they clearly told us that we should follow the sequence like search, view, add, and order, right? So with that, I can conclude the search of B, then I should go with the view of B, then I should go with adding of B, then I should go with search of A, view of A, and then adding of A, and then going to place the order, right? So that's what we conclude. And with that context, if you see on the question, the order of execution should be TC2, then TC4, then TC6, then I should have TC1, TC3, and TC5, and then comes to TC7. So that's my final order of execution. All the B in the right order should be executed first, all the A executed second, and then order of course should go together at the end. But if you'll notice, the question is still not complete. The question finally says in the last line, that is, which test case should be executed as the 4th one? Okay, not the first one, or they're not asking you the order. They're asking you the 4th position test case. So if I look at the sequence once again, as I said you, it's going to be TC2, TC4, TC6, then TC1, TC3, TC5, TC7. In this case, the TC1 takes the 4th position in the sequence. Okay, TC1 takes the 4th sequence or 4th position in the sequence of execution. And with that being discussed and context being clear, the right answer to this particular question is B, that is TC1 with the name search for product A will be executed as 4th test in the final order of execution. And with that, we can really understand and conclude that some questions require a little time and patience. So try to save your time from the other questions so that you can utilize your time in these type of questions. And trust me, again, this is not going to be the whole examination pattern. Some of these questions will be taken as a hard question to be included in your examination. So it's not that all the questions will consume time. Some questions will be straightforward, some questions will need more time. So allocate your time accordingly, right? So that's all from this particular tutorial, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.